welcome back to Mariana Math Books. My name is Mariana and today I am here with a belated HISTORATHON 2024 video. If you watched my goals, reading goals and channel goals video, you know that I have decided to no longer be a co-host for HISTORATHON, but that doesn't mean that I'm not actively participating in HISTORATHON. It's one of my main goals for the year. It was one of my favorite things last year. Reading history has been one of my favorite things, and since last year I've been wanting to do this video of the books that I am excited for in this year. Again, if you watched my goals video, you know that the reason why I decided to stop being a co-host was because I have a specific time period that I am very interested in reading, and so I decided that I was still going to be reading history, making HISTORATHON videos, but not necessarily always following the timeline. That being said, I am too much of a rule follower not to at least attempt to read books of each quarter, at least some, to feel like I'm following the rules, and then read all of the other stuff. And to that effect, I have started to ease myself into reading because, as you know from my lack of filming, my life has been crazy and I hadn't been reading a ton either. So to ease myself into reading, I started reading the Timeline of World History, which is just a short book with timelines. As you can see here, these are the timelines that are included. These four are foldouts, and this large one is you can take it out and put it in your wall. I actually want to put it in my wall. Yeah. And so the inside the text is divided by different periods in history, but obviously because of the type of book that it is a very brief section per period. So I have read the prehistory section and the section about like the origins of agriculture, and I want to read the I forget to keep the books up, to read the all the sections about Egypt and Rome, and you know the things that pertain this quarter. Oh, one thing, I have more books on my shelves that I am excited about, but those are books that I already showed you in videos, I already talked about. I haven't necessarily read them, but just for the purposes of this video and to make it a little bit easier on myself, I didn't pull every single book in my on my shelves. I just pulled the books that you hadn't seen in other videos, I'm pretty sure. Maybe the books that I think you haven't seen in other videos, except for the timelines and the origins of power, which you had already seen. So sticking to the topic of Mesoamerica, I have this other slim book which is called Myths and Truths of Mesoamerica by, I believe, Eduardo Matos Moctezuma, who is a really well recognized Mexican archaeologist. And this is actually a collection of entries in the Mexican Archaeology magazine, where he would respond questions about common myths. So for instance, if you know a little bit about Mesoamerica, you know they had a ball game, and there is a very common believed myth, one thing that they even teach you in school, and that tour guides in archaeological sites will tell you, that when they played the ball game, the winners were sacrificed because it was an honor to be sacrificed to the gods. And so that's a very common myth, which is in fact a myth. That's not true. Here he answers that, right? So the format is like, question: did they really sacrifice the winners of the ball game, and then he goes into the answer. And so it's just a list of questions. So he had a column in Mexican Archaeology magazine where he would answer these common myths. This is a collection of that column. I'm actually very excited to read this. I think maybe this one I had showed, I don't remember, but so that's that. Then this I know I had already showed, which is the battle for Tenochtitlan. This is to confront and to confront and question the official dominant canon narratives of the Spanish conquest. And I know I have talked about this, but I am showing it here because I started it last year and I was loving it and I was sure this was going to be a favorite, and then life happened and I didn't finish it. So after the origins of power in Mesoamerica, I do want to read this one. I am super excited about this one. I want to finish it. It was very readable, very easy, and I want to finish it this year. And speaking about the conquest of the Aztecs of Tenochtitlan, which this author questions the term conquest, but we're going to go with it because that's what it's commonly known as. One of my new obsessions from last year, that I picked up from last year, is actually Hernan Cortés. Hernan Cortés, I feel like I am a bad Mexican just for being obsessed with Hernan Cortés. I was joking with my mom when I first got obsessed with him. I was like, they are going to expel me from the country because he's so fascinating. If you don't know Hernan Cortés, you probably know. If you're watching this video, you probably know. But if you don't, Hernan Cortés was the leader of the Spanish troops that came to Mesoamerica, who were the ones who did the eventual conquest. And I word it like that because he actually came without permission. Like, he wasn't sent to conquest Mesoamerica. He came without permission with a bunch of people who weren't necessarily the best soldiers. But he is now effectively the leader of the conquest in this region, in this Mesoamerican region, because, you know, down with the Incas and in South America it's different guys, but here in this region it's Hernan Cortés, and he is fascinating. And he's always been the bad guy because, well, he was the leader of the troops that did the conquest. I'm not going to go in depth. This is not a video about that. This was just to show books. And this is a biography, a short biography of Hernan Cortés, which I picked up to start because this is the shortened version of a longer biography that I actually wanted to get, but it's out of print and I can't find it. And so this is like the summarized version. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get it because I wanted to read this author's biography, who is Jose Luis Martinez. And so I'll report back. First, I want to read the this one to know like the details about the conquest. But then I'm going to follow it up with Cortés. I actually in my Kindle have a biography about Moctezuma, who was the Aztec emperor who was in power when these guys came, and Hernan Cortés and Moctezuma actually met. That period is very fascinating. So yes, and then sticking with the Cortés theme, I have his letters. So this edition is in Spanish, but this you can find in English. Cortés's letters. This is his letters that he wrote to, I believe, Carlos Quinto. Yeah. Carlos Quinto's Charles V. Sorry. So these are 5 letters written between 1519 and 1526. and he wrote them to Charles V to describe everything he found in New Spain, or in Mesoamerica, which was then called New Spain once it was taken over by the Spanish. So these are his letters, and this is actually what I want to read for Ancient-a-thon month this year. I don't know if the readathon is officially going to be done, but during Ancient-a-thon month, this is what I want to read because this was going to be my non-fiction pick for this year. Then I have a collection of essays called Jesuits and Franciscans in the Frontiers of New Spain, 16th to 19th centuries. So the Jesuits and the Franciscans were like the two main missionary orders here. I mean, there were many, but the Jesuits and the Franciscans were like very important. So this is a collection of essays. If you watched my videos for HISTORATHON, you know that I was fascinated with the history of Christianity. Well, people here had their own religion, and then the Spanish came and imposed their own religion, and that's also a fascinating history. So I do have a book about that that I already showed you, but this one is just a book of essays about specifically Jesuits and Franciscans. And then to continue with New Spain, I have first this book, which is about the vice queens of New Spain, and it's literally just called the vice queens, women and power in New Spain from 16th to 17th century, by Daniela Pastor Telles. And I was so excited to find this book because I was actually looking for books about the vice kings, which is what you usually hear about. I probably mentioned this in videos last year for HISTORATHON, that New Spain was the most boring topic for me. If I could think of boring topics in history, topics that I'm just like, yawn, I'm never going to be interested in that, one of the first would be New Spain. And now I am absolutely fascinated and super interested in it, thanks to HISTORATHON. Thanks to HISTORATHON since last year, when I read more in depth about the conquest, about Hernan Cortés, about the beginnings of New Spain. And so I wanted to read more about New Spain, and I was looking for histories of the vice kings, and I came across this book, which is about the vice queens. And I think it's fascinating because I don't think I have ever heard or read anything about the vice queens. I don't even know their names. I know some of the names of the vice kings. I have no idea what the names of the vice queens are. So So this one will be fascinating. Then to go alongside with that one, I have this book, and this is about Puebla, which is the city that I live in, and Puebla is the new Spanish city in Mexico, and it's the second city that was built in New Spain. So this is not about the history of Puebla, which I would like to read, but I don't own any books about. This is about the art, new Spanish art in Puebla. Then I have another biography, and this is the life of Fray Servando, who was I think the word in English is friar Servando. Am I messing that word up? Well, he was a priest, and this is a chunky one. He was born in the final days of the Vice Kingdom of New Spain. I don't know if Vice Kingdom is the proper word, but I'm just going to call it that in English. And then he was alive all throughout the war for independence, and he died in independent Mexico. So he was born in New Spain and he died in independent Mexico. And I just think that his life must be fascinating with that transition. If I get to it, I'll report if I get to all of these, I'll report about them, but like I don't know if I'm going to get to all of them. So the final New Spain book that I want to show you here is The Origins of the Cult of Our Lady of Guadalupe, 1521 to 1688, by Gisela von Woveser. I don't know how to pronounce it. The good thing about nonfiction is that titles are very self-explanatory. This is about the origins of Guadalupanismo, which is the cult to the Lady of Guadalupe, who is like the Mexican Virgin Mary, that was created so that the native people from here, would more easily embrace Christianity. And boy, did they embrace Our Lady of Guadalupe. Guadalupanismo is such an essential core of being a Mexican and of Mexican culture. It's so ingrained in the culture that it is fascinating. It's a fascinating phenomenon, and I am excited to read about it. So, fun fact, when Hernan Cortés first arrived in Tenochtitlan, he obviously wanted to get rid of all the pagan gods or whatever, and so he put like a Christian symbol in the temple, the main temple of Tenochtitlan. He did not hang a cross. He hung a painting of Mary. Mexico has always been a very Marian centric religion country. So it is mainly Catholic, but very Marian centric. So it was fascinating to me to learn that the first thing that Hernan Cortés hung was not a cross, but a picture of Mary. This covers from the origins in 1521, from the first, from the conquest up to 1688, and it will be fascinating. So these are all the Mexico, New Spain, Mesoamerica books that I wanted to show you. I do have some medieval Europe books. Again, these are books that I haven't showed you before. I have more on my shelves. But so the first one that I'm going to show is this really tiny, really easy, the everyday life in the Middle Ages. And I bought this one because my brother-in-law recommended it to me, and we were in the library, in the bookstore, and he saw it and he told me, oh my god, I just read it and you're going to love it. And so I got it. I actually think this is a collection, and there's everyday life in different time periods. So if this is good, I could go I could look for the others. Then I have this one that is called The Light of My Eyes, Being a Mother in the Middle Ages, by Maria Jesus Fuente. So obviously this is about maternity, being a mother in the Middle Ages. This one will be a body read with my mom. We are planning on reading this on April. And then finally, and this is a very specific topic, about something that starts in the 1400s in Italy, and that is tarot. The history of tarot. I am very excited about this book. This one was a gift from my mom, and it is the history of tarot by Isabel Nadolny. I was going to say there are plenty of books about the history of tarot in English, but the problem about the history of tarot is that you have to know which books to pick up. There's a lot of like BS that talks about the Egyptian mystical origins, the origins, actual, factual, verifiable origins of tarot were in Italy in the 1400s. So this book will cover that. I was very recommended this book by one of my friends. I'm very excited about it. So it would be good. It would be cool to make a video. You know that I'm making these booktube meets tarot tube videos. It would be cool to make like a booktube historathon meets tarot tube and talk about the history of tarot. That would be a cool video. I hope I do it. Anyway, those are all the books that I wanted to show you today. I do have more on my list. I have some on my Kindle. I have some on audiobook. But I don't know. These are the ones I have in my shelves. And as always, I might not get to them, but I'm excited for them. So if there is like a specific one that you are like, please, 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 please read that one, tell me in the comments and I'll try to prioritize it to talk about it in a video. The keyword is try, but if you tell me, I will try more. So that's all for today, folks. I hope you had a good week. I will see you soon with another bookish video, and in the meantime, I wish you happy reading.